Hear him on the cultural hall. Hear him on the cultural hall. Him on the cultural hall. Him on the cultural hall.
It is time for another episode of the Cultural Hall. No, it is not an interview episode. No, it is not a news episode. He is alive. He is the mayor of this here town, and it is a Hear Him episode. Mr. Mayor, welcome back. Been a minute.
Thank you.
You are our hymnotist. Not a real word. We made it up, but we talk all about the hymns. Have you noticed that LDS Living has basically stolen our shtick?
I know it.
Yeah.
It's like, but did they call it Hear Him, though?
No, but they're like,
Good.
what I've actually appreciated about it is they have access to some information and some people that we may never get access to. So we'll just read their articles and then we can say, oh, yeah, and did you know? And we don't have to cite or quote them.
I think, truthfully, the more we've been doing this, the better it's been is when we just kind of tell our own feelings and thoughts on this anyway. They can't have access to my own brain and my own heart, so they'll never have access.
They could,
but
it's a whole thing. I've seen the movie. Yeah, no. Consent, it's a thing. What hymn are we talking about in this episode?
Well, let me set it up because it's there's a scripture. I think everyone will know it as soon as I start the scripture.
Okay.
The scripture is, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me into the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil."
I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left.
Yeah, that's right out of the King James Version. Everyone knows this scripture. In fact, it's so cliche. If you watch TV, almost every funeral is doing this. And the reason I lean myself towards this particular hymn, this particular time, is my heart is kind of in this place right now. My family, my brother's wife, my sister-in-law's sister, passed away yesterday.
Oh my God.
So this was very much in my thoughts as I was preparing for these today, and so I lean towards this. So she's been fighting pancreatic cancer for several years now, and she's had 3 years beyond what they expected. So that's a blessing, but it's still such a tragedy, and she's gone way too soon. And so my heart, as we record today, is really with my brother, his wife, and their family. And so I'm getting a little teary-eyed thinking about that. But there is a reason this is a cliche scripture, and it is a very comforting thought. And this psalm is just one of the most popular hymns at times of struggle. So that's what it is. And the hymn is, "The Lord is my shepherd."
Now, in the back of my mind, so is the melody, "The Lord is my shepherd, no one tell," isn't that already in the hymn book?
It is, but this is a different, first of all, this is a different formation of the text. It comes from, the text has come from it's called the Scottish Psalter. I think it's basically another term, if I'm right, for Psalms. And so it comes out of, again, all based on the same text. And as we know, hymns are an interesting thing that we often attribute certain texts to certain music, but truthfully, they back 150 years ago, the same text was often sung to different musical settings.
Yeah, so you could essentially sing the same lyrics of like "Called to Serve" to something else.
So we talked about that before on here. We've talked about how "Firm a Foundation" can actually be sung to the same musical setting as "O Come All You Faithful." So next time you're singing "O Come All You Faithful," just sing the words to "How Firm a Foundation," and it'll just freak everyone else out. But you can do that, and that's very common, especially back 150 years ago when they didn't have access to pianos and everything else, and everyone knew certain melodies, and so it was really easy to just say, okay, we're going to sing this text to this melody. And in fact, some of the earliest hymn books had no melodies in them. They just basically had the text, and then you sang the things you want to. So that's the case in this this regard. Now, the particular melody we're talking about here is by a guy named James Leith Macbeth Bain. He wrote around World War I in 1950, so he's a Scottish minister and composer. And this is one of the very popular melodies that this text is often sung to. And so it's the first time, or at least what I can tell, and maybe I'm wrong. And so if we, again, this is one of those that listeners might know better. And we've learned that in the past as I've been schooled and I'm okay with that. If you know of when this particular melody has been used in an LDS hymn book before, please let me know, because I couldn't find it. But it is, this particular melody is new to our hymn book. It seems to me anyway. It's definitely not the melody we use in the 1985 hymn book.
Sure. With the Lord as my shepherd. When you, I'm curious as when you, because we started sort of with the meaning of this whole thing, when you approach one of these new hymns, do you have the same approach to each one? Meaning, like, the way that I have gone about, learning of these new hymns is I don't read them first. I go and I find where the church has provided either the music that I can sing along to kind of learn it, or I YouTube search, This Little Light of Mine, right? And I go, oh, is this it? And then I hear different versions of it and I go, oh, this is incredible. Do you like to know the meaning and the scripture and the psalm, in this case, behind it before you listen to it? Or do you like to listen to it and then study it while you're doing it? How have you embraced the new hymns that have come in?
So it depends on if I'm already aware of the hymn or not. If I'm already aware of the hymn, I think I already start from a position of knowledge. And so then I'll probably start with the music itself. Okay. But I'm a story guy. Mm-hmm. So I tend to, before I actually even read the lyrics or listen to the hymn, I like to go to the About the Hymn section. That's one of my favorite places to go. And the church has done such a good job of giving these little snippets and of how and why these hymns were written. So if I've never heard the hymn before, if I don't recognize the name out of the gate, I will then go to the About the Hymn section first. And I think that leads me into the lyrics and the musical setting in a way that I wouldn't get by just listening to it. And so because storytelling is such part of what I like to do, that's where I like to start. And so and if I know the hymn already and I already have a relationship with the hymn in one context or another, I will probably then go the other way, start with the hymn and then work in towards the story. But in this case, I knew the hymn, obviously. I knew the text of the hymn, and I didn't learn about the melody until after I had dug into this a little bit. And because I'm actively thinking about my family at this point, my brother's family at this point, I kind of entered the hymn from that perspective this time.
Is there, when you're studying this particular one, obviously with the familiarity in general Christianity or just cinematic appreciation or anything like that, we are, as you mentioned, aware of the Lord as my shepherd, and different faith traditions could even quote it or recite it all together. Are you connecting through it with that? Like, are you like memorizing, envisioning the Lord being your shepherd and going
exactly
with that, or how are you connecting?
I was so, I've got to decide which ones I'm going to do for you, like which ones we're going to do. And, you don't tell me which ones we're going to do. Sometimes you'll lean me towards one or the other. But in this case, I just kind of take what what's going on in my life and just going, okay, which one of these hymns kind of stand out to me? And in this case, that's what happened. And I immediately took the comfort, not because of the scriptures, of course, the scripture itself, but literally because of my attachment to TVs and movies. Mm-hmm. It was an interesting thing. I started thinking about what hymn we're going to do at the same moment is when my brother texted me and said Monica had passed. Ugh. Literally at the same moment we started thinking about that. And my brain immediately brought up however many visions of funerals from TV and movies and this scripture running over the top of it for whatever reason. And it gave me comfort in that. It's such a cliche, but sometimes cliches are cliches for a reason. Yeah. And that's that's what I pulled up in this one.
Is there anything else about anything within this hymn helped us connect to it? Things that, did you know anything like that we need to make sure we mention?
No, I think we to lean back into that cliche. So, just the last line of what we typically look at this psalm is, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. If there isn't a better way to end, then that's scripture, which is verse 6 of Psalm 23. That's where I'd end this on.
Yeah. Yeah. It strikes me, and I don't know why I haven't ever thought of this before, but within our sacrament meetings, typically we have the opening song, we have the closing song, and then we have the one right before the
intermediate hymn.
Yeah, the intermediate.
Oh no, the sacrament hymn, and then sometimes the intermediate hymn.
It strikes me that as we're learning about these new hymns that are added, man, it is a built-in thing for wards and first and second counselors as they're assigning talks to people. Hey, we're going to sing.
I haven't seen that happen in my ward yet, but I kind of think I thought that's been on my brain as well. I was thinking on this, not this last Sunday, but the Sunday before is the first time my ward finally printed all the hymns, and it probably was sitting there for a few weeks because I'm really good at noticing stuff.
Yeah,
I learned my wife hides Christmas presents in the house by just putting them places, just setting them down. I have no idea that they're there. I have no idea that they're there. That's how little I noticed. So it probably was there for weeks before I noticed them, but we now have the printed version of all the current hymns for home and church, finally for the first time printed in my ward. And I started thinking about, as we introduce these, it would be awesome if once a month or twice a month or something, our bishopric would say, hey, let's have a talk about the subject that this hymn is on, and maybe talk about the hymn, but we don't necessarily need to, but the subject that it's on, and then sing the hymn as the intermediate hymn or something like that. It would be a great way to introduce these hymns as we move through the next year or two, or it's supposed to be 2 or 3 more years of still releasing these hymns. So
what also strikes me, and I can't remember where I was reading about this, but how in various other denominations there are these opportunities where they will just play music, right? And we do that occasionally. We'll have a special musical number in one of the ward houses, because sometimes I work on Sunday afternoon, so I go early in the morning. They have an actual organ and amazing organists. And I would love the opportunity, to your point, someone gets up and they talk about the Lord being your shepherd, and then the organist just plays all 4 verses or, 3 verses of, the Lord is my shepherd. And then
I love that idea. I mean,
speaking, just let people kind of meditate and have that time. That's a thing that I think sometimes we don't let things breathe, because as members of the church, we go, quiet means the Spirit is prompting me. I should probably get up and say something. And I think that can be sometimes, but I also think sometimes it could just be let's just focus on these words for real.
It's interesting. I've been helping out with the audio at another church, the Syriac Orthodox Church. I saw that. My neighbor is a member of that church and knows that I work in the AV industry and has attended things at our church before. And he's like, your audio is so good and he gives me credit as if I did the audio at our church, but I have nothing to do with it. Yes, I turn it on and I'm the tech guy at our church, but I have nothing to do with that audio system, since the church, puts those audio systems out worldwide. Sure. They're a team of engineers who build our audio. But he gives me a lot of credit that I don't deserve for it. And he asked me, can you come? Because we were having a lot of trouble. So when I first moved in here, the Syriac Orthodox Church met at the house next to me, because there wasn't a church here. And over the last 10 years, about 3 years ago, they finished their church. And I guess since then, their audio hasn't been great. It was installed well, it's a really nice system, but whoever set it up didn't ask a lot of questions like, what do you use this for? When do you use it, and why? Like, what are the systems that are going to be interacting?
Mhm.
And so they were getting a lot of things like you would, feedback and problems with the church,
Sure.
the system. And so what I did is I just went, I just said, I'm going to come and listen and go to your church so I can get an understanding of what are the use cases you do? Like, what do you need do with it? And so the first day I did a few tweaks, but mostly just listened. Then I went back and restructured the entire thing. We took everything down to zero, to the, and reset their gains, reset everything. And then over a few sessions, it brought it up. And it is now for what they're doing. It's actually doing the right thing. And it sounds fine. Sounds good. It's not perfect. There's probably some more things I could tweak, but they were very pleased with it. And they presented me on Sunday with this nice Syriac Bible, New Testament. It's actually in Aramaic, which is the language of Christ. But my point of that is there's some things that they do in their church that we probably would think differently about reverence when it comes to reverence. It's quite like symbols. Growing up in the LDS church, you'd never imagine symbols being clanged around.
Oh, I thought when you were saying symbols, you meant like, or I thought that you meant like, oh, that's a picture of a cup.
Like,
it actually means
like symbols. They shape these symbols.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a tambourine.
Sure.
It's not a tambourine, but that's as close as I can do to the sound. Is they shake these symbols as part of their. It's not called mass to them, but the closest understanding I have would be
service.
Mass. Their service, and the first time I started hearing them, I'm like, what the heck is that? Because I was back in the tech booth. I didn't even know what was going on. All of a sudden, this sound started emanating, and to the classic Mormon ears or LDS ears, that didn't seem reverent to me. Yet it is absolutely reverent. It just was not what I was used to. And as I've experienced that over the last few weeks, I've started to understand, that what we sometimes experience as reverence, and sometimes it's just being quiet and not actually reverent, is not necessarily reverent. It is reverence and I use the articulation of imagine a piano that we all have in our churches, and that piano we can play "Come Ye Saints" in sacrament meeting, or we could play "Great Balls of Fire" from Jerry in a sacrament meeting setting. The instrument of the piano is not reverent if I play Jerry Lee Lewis.
Sure.
But it is if I play Come Ye Saints. It's really about intent, and it's really about what I'm putting behind it, and the worship I'm putting behind it. And that's true with symbols as well. And so it's just kind of put me on a new place with some of this stuff.
Well, and to take your analogy full circle, I think it's how we can, like, you could sing "The Lord is my shepherd" or any of our hymns and be not reverent about it, right? Still be singing the words and just be shouting them or whatever the thing may be, not have reverence rather than like folded up in front of everyone, but having, being reverent towards the meaning, reverent towards understanding. And I think that that's what this whole thing is about, is like, what is this hymn about? This is new. How are we going to revere it? What do we need to know about it? Why is it significant? What is it important? How can it improve our worship? And so we spend this time being able to do that, to talk about it and go, okay, I'll take
to that point. I could be appearing completely reverent on the outside and not be reverent at all. And then someone else who could appear that they're being irreverent, but they don't, they act differently than us, could absolutely be reverent. And so it's really about what's in our heart,
right?
How we're praising God, and how we're bringing our that intent to our worship.
All right. That's another Hear Him episode. I hope that this episode has nourished and strengthened your body.
And that if you're not healthy enough to listen this week, you'll be healthy enough to listen next.
And that when the time comes, you'll be able to travel home in safety. In the meantime, we'll be saving a seat for you
on the back row
of the Cultural Hall.
Cultural Hall.
Save me a seat, it's sure to be neat on the back row. We really gotta go on the Cultural Hall show.